Tonight, the 7 Action News investigators are holding Governor Rick Snyder to a high standard. His standard, in fact.
Yeah, the governor promised to be open and accountable, but he's also taking in huge amounts of money from donors that he'd really like to keep a mystery. Investigator Ross Jones, first to expose the governor's best-kept secret, and tonight, Ross is leading the way with brand new information. Ross?
Stephen, Carolyn, good evening. After Governor Snyder took office, he promised to make Michigan a national leader in open government. And very quickly, 2 words became some of his favorite.
Accountability and transparency.
Accountability and transparency.
Accountability and transparency.
In the governor's N.E.R.D fund, you won't find either. That's because the nonprofit, which stands for New Energy to Reinvent and Diversify, can take in and spend as much money as it wants, all in secret.
In effect, it's almost a shadow portion of the government.
Unlike Snyder's campaign fund, where donors need to be disclosed, donations to the N.E.R.D fund are hidden from public view. A filing released yesterday shows donations were down big time in 2012, $368,000, almost $1 million less than the year before, but still a lot of money. Money that the fund says will promote the common good and general welfare of the state of Michigan.
That could be anything.
It could be anything, and this is the kind of boilerplate language you see on a lot of different committees of this sort.
Expenses are listed in broad categories, and almost no detail is given. More than $67,000 on other, $173,000 on travel, about $100,000 on office expenses. All told, it spent almost $600,000 last year.
This is not transparent. There's no accountability to the public, and this is a substantial amount of money.
Some of the money raised has gone to Snyder's Ann Arbor home. In 2011, $130,000 went towards installing a new security system. Earlier this year, Snyder appointed emergency manager Kevin Orr to guide the city through a possible bankruptcy. While his salary is paid for by Detroit taxpayers, Orr's spokesman says he believes the N.E.R.D fund is paying for his stay here at the Book Cadillac Hotel. When we asked Orr who's footing the bill yesterday, he said he didn't know.
I don't know. I don't see bills, and I haven't seen a lease.
The fund also pays top Snyder consultant Richard Baird, a powerful advisor to the governor with the title of Transformation Manager. His $100,000 consulting fee is paid for by those secret donors.
I think that in the end, people who work for a salary work on behalf of the interests of those who pay that salary.
For almost a month, we've asked to talk to the governor, but our requests have gone unanswered. This week, he's traveling in the Upper Peninsula. His spokeswoman said that Snyder may talk to us in the future, but insists that the fund has nothing to hide.
People who make contributions to organizations like this aren't doing so for selfless reasons. They've got some kind of an agenda of their own. They're looking at this committee as a vehicle to advance their agenda.
So tonight, we don't know what we don't know about this fund, but hopefully that will be changing soon. On Tuesday, Snyder's spokeswoman Sarah Werfel told me that the N.E.R.D fund's past structure is being reconsidered. When I asked what that meant exactly, she said the fund may be sharing more information in the future. So we'll see.
It sounds like the early stages of the Kilpatrick Civic Fund, when we were just learning about that ended up getting him in so much trouble.
Kwame Kilpatrick had one, Robert Ficano had one, Charles Pugh had one. Some of those don't exist now because of the controversies. Some now disclose donors, and this one has some questions of its own.
All right, so we may find out in the future.
I hope we do.
All right, thanks, Ross. It's the governor's mystery N.E.R.D fund, but tonight, will it also be paying to fly emergency manager Kevin Orr around the country?
The 7 Action News investigators have led the way in holding the governor accountable over that fund and exposing expenses that had previously been a guarded secret.
Tonight, investigator Ross Jones has new information about what could be yet another expense benefiting an important Detroit official.
Governor Rick Snyder's nonprofit fund wouldn't be a news story if it wasn't such a secret. But ever since we first reported on the mystery fund last year, Snyder has refused to release the names of donors or show exactly how almost $1.5 million in donations have been spent. Last month, we first reported that the fund has paid for emergency manager Kevin Orr's stay here at the Westin Book Cadillac. Yesterday, Snyder said the expense is necessary and that the fund operates above board.
It's all legal. It's all been presented, the information that's required. It doesn't go to my personal benefit. It's actually offsetting costs of government. So people should feel comfortable with that.
But some are uncomfortable about what's unknown about the fund, especially in the age of Kwame Kilpatrick and Bob Ficano. Both politicians had similar nonprofits that operated without disclosure. Kilpatrick awaits a prison sentence for how he misused his, and Ficano completely restructured his fund once we exposed that it paid a county official a secret $75,000 bonus. As for Kevin Orr, he told Channel 7's editorial staff last month that when it comes to his travel expenses, he's footing the bill.
I pay my travel out of pocket every week. I pay my parking. I don't expense mileage. It's cost me tens of thousands of dollars, personally.
But that may be changing. Orr's spokesman told me today that while his boss has paid for his airfare so far, he may have the N.E.R.D fund reimburse him. And that's fine, say government watchdogs like Rich Robinson. But if donors are helping out a powerful figure like Orr, Michigan residents deserve to know who they are.
This isn't some generic social welfare organization. This is a vehicle under the control of the governor. And in effect, it's almost a shadow portion of the government.
In Southfield, Ross Jones, 7 Action News.
Well, on to the news. Governor Rick Snyder promised transparency when he ran for office, but the 7 Action News investigators were first to expose how Snyder's transparency and his pledge didn't really apply to the secret N.E.R.D fund. Investigator Ross Jones has led the way on this story. Today he is breaking news of the fund will soon be shut down. Ross?
Governor Rick Snyder hasn't been able to make the questions over his N.E.R.D fund go away. So in response, the fund will be going away altogether. The nonprofit, which stands for New Energy to Reinvent and Diversify, will be shutting down this week, according to fund president Charlie Secchia. For nearly a year since 7 Action News first raised questions about the fund, Snyder has been dogged by concerns over why he's keeping donors that kicked in nearly $1.7 million to its coffers a secret.
This is not transparent. There's no accountability to the public, and this is a substantial amount of money.
The fund was founded to lessen the burdens of government and promote the state's common good, but it's helped benefit some awfully powerful people in the state, too. Until recently, those secret donors paid the salary of powerful Snyder advisor Richard Baird and covered some of the living expenses of Detroit emergency manager Kevin Orr. The fund also paid for a new security system and furniture in Snyder's Ann Arbor home, totaling $130,000. Secchia told me today that the decision to shut down the fund was made in response to calls to end the secrecy surrounding it. It'll be replaced by a new nonprofit, he said, and this one will list donors. If we're going to run on the same theme of transparency, we ought to be more transparent than we have to be, he said by phone, to put our acts and ways more in sync with the administration. So, even though this new fund will report the names of donors going forward, there are no signs tonight that we'll learn the identities of those who already gave to the N.E.R.D fund. That's at least $1.7 million in secret donations. From the newsroom, I'm Ross Jones, 7 Action News.